2 years ago. I mean, I think we have to start there, not run from it. 2 years ago, Canes, Florida Panthers, Eastern Conference Finals. Canes were swept by the Panthers. But it's more than that. And when I say, like, don't run from it, embrace it, that's exactly, I think, the best way to handle it. The first game, 4 overtime, 3-2. Brutal. Second game, they go to overtime again, 2-1, loss. Brutal. Then there's an 0-1, 0-1 shutout. Brutal. And then it ends with a 4-3 game 4 where the game winner came from Matthew Tkachuk, who scored 2 game winners prior to 5 seconds left in the third. That is the type of thing that motivates you until you get the opportunity to avenge that beast. And any competitor would want it. I said it, by the way, before the Toronto-Florida series ended. Right before it came to a conclusion, and I have receipts, so it's not like I'm making this up. I said I, meaning the radio host, don't really care who they play. Right? I don't care if it's Toronto. I don't care if it's Florida. With the acknowledgement that you're gonna play a talented team in the Eastern Conference Finals. Right? You can't luck into an easy draw once you get to the Final Four of something like the Stanley Cup playoffs. So who cares, right? It's going to be good. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be entertaining. But I added, I hope the Canes want the Florida Panthers. Right? I hope they want the Florida Panthers. I hope they want Matthew Tkachuk. I hope they're craving the opportunity to show that they're different this time. And the irony is, and I don't even remember saying it, but I did because it popped up in the Canes cinematic YouTube recap of round 2. They grabbed some audio from the show where going into the Cap series, I said, I hope they're on some kind of John Wick revenge tour. And the reason why I said it, again, hearing the clip, was because the national media was downplaying the Canes and nobody was believing in them and nobody was picking them and you couldn't really find supporters for what the Canes were trying to do anywhere outside of the state of North Carolina and maybe South Carolina. Well, I'll tell you this. The John Wick revenge tour ramped up another level in this one. If they had reasons to want revenge against Washington, who, by the way, Washington has never beaten the Canes in a postseason series. If they had reason for revenge, John Wick revenge against the Caps, they darn sure have reason to have John Wick revenge vibes against the Florida Panthers. And maybe it's in honor of the movie series, right? Anyone that's watched those movies, got to find a way to level up for the sequel. That's how movies work. First Fast and the Furious, racing cars up and down a road. 8th, they're like going to space and jumping out of. They're doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah,
because every single one you got to one up. Canes are doing it the right way. Right at the end of the Devil series, it felt like there was a Friends. Right, everyone's hugging Pesci and Steph Nason. End of the Cap series, a little bit more combative. Going into this one, jumping planes out of helicopters. Right, this one is all about unleashing or releasing yourself from some past nightmares. Rod Brind'amour spoke to the media, obviously, as he will, multiple times throughout this series. And he talked about drawing on experience of being in the Eastern Conference Finals recently, not just 2 years ago against Florida, but this is their 3rd trip in the last 7 years. Here's Rod.
Well, you hope it's any time you do have those type of results, like it's experience, you learn from it, whether it's a good experience, bad experience, however you want to look at all that. I think you learn from stuff, and I know this group has, and you hope that whatever lessons you've learned from that make you that much better this time around.
I think this Canes team is different. Not saying different people, although there are some of that. I think this Canes team is different. And that's not just me talking. I can't tell you how many times somebody has told me, this team there's something going on. Oh, this team, it just feels different, or the vibe is different. It's time to prove it. It's time to prove it. And yes, like I said, some of the players are different. Last time they played in the Eastern Conference Finals, they didn't have Svetch. That's based on the way this postseason has gone. That's a big one to be missing, right? He was hurt. Obviously, the young guys, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, like the young guys weren't around, weren't even in the league. Matter of fact, if Hall, Roslovic, and Stankoven are skating together, none of those guys were on the Canes as recently as last year, let alone 2 years ago. Carrier wasn't around. Orlov and Walker weren't around blue liners. Gostisbehere was, but he left and came back.
Yeah.
So the team is inherently different, but I'm looking even more so at the players that were here being different. Jarvis, for lack of a better term, but lack of a better metaphor, he was like an infant at the time.
Yeah, still a child. He is a child now, but
yeah,
toddler in those days.
Just like in NHL experience, but also just he was what, 20? Like it was
19, 20.
Super young. Stahl, like guys that were around, Stahl was on the young side of 35. There's a different kind of urgency and a different kind of vibe once you start hitting 36, 37. Right? He was, I think, 34 in this season that ended with the Eastern Conference Final sweep. Oh, 25, right? Just it's particularly for the young core, right? Martinook, Stahl, they are what they are, but particularly for the young core, it's time to prove that like you've grown up. It's time to prove that you're not the same kids to be pushed around. And not saying you were pushed around, but I'm talking 4-0. You like there's a memory of that team really learning some lessons. It's time to show that you learned the lessons. It's time to show that you're a different team than you were at that point. Andrei Svechnikov, who, like I said, wasn't available in that last Eastern Conference Finals, talked to the media about being one step closer to winning a Stanley Cup.
Feels awesome, just dreaming about it, to be honest. Just were talking yesterday, actually, about it. Believe it, if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, just, dreaming about it, and hopefully it's going to happen.
Halfway. Actually, I would say a little less than halfway. Right, because you would guess, like, the challenges are tougher from this point forward, even though you have to win the same amount of games, right? You've won 8, you have to win 8 more. That's why they count the flags outside the stadium. Like, we know the number of wins you need, but these next ones are going to be more difficult. These next ones are going to be more intense. These next ones are going to be just a different level of challenge. And it's not to run from your past, it's to learn from your past. Right, I kind of always subscribe to the 8 Mile theory. Right, say everything they're going to say about you and own it, rather than act like you're trying to run from it or hide from your past. Right, his 3rd Eastern Conference Finals in the last 7 years. Still looking for your first win in the series. Don't run from that. Make that motivation. And if you want to go even further back, 12 straight losses in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? There is an element of you are going into this game representing everyone that's worn the Carolina Hurricanes jersey since you won the Cup. Use that as motivation. Go in with the expectation that Florida's going to try to do the same tricks, and they're going to try to have the same edge and experience, and they're going to try to do the same things they did last time, and look them in the face and go, this one's different. Especially because you have the opportunity to catch them maybe a little bit fatigued in Game 1.
Should.
Because they played yesterday against the Maple Leafs in a Game 7 while you took care of business in 5 in your second-round series. That's an opportunity for you to punch them right in the mouth, right out the gate, and say, this is different.
Yeah, talking to guys in the locker room yesterday, that was kind of like the sense you got. They were actually surprised that way. Whoa, actually, we're starting on Tuesday? A lot of the guys were kind of shocked by that, but they also understood that whomever they're going to play, Toronto or Florida, that they have a real fast turnaround, and Carolina's rested. They have 4 days off between games as opposed to just one, in this case for Florida. Jump all over it.
And we'll
right from the get-go.
We'll continue building off of that because I think it's quintessential